imagine being in the hospital, being told you're never going to walk again, and that you should get ready to have your wife take care of you for the rest of your life.
Welcome to How I Lost It, where we learn the stories behind some of the biggest weight loss successes. I'm Marley Ficalora. Now let's begin our interview.
This is Josh. He's going to talk about how he lost 290 pounds. This is amazing. Even saying it is incredible. So let's have you just talk about who you are and where you're from.
Well, like I said, I'm from Brooklyn. As far as who I am a wild man. I've been told my whole life that I am someone who didn't know how to take no for an answer, and that's kind of the way I go about my business. I grew up as, of course, a chubby kid, because that's just, I don't know. The way I've always felt is, okay, I may be chubby, but I can do everything and anything that anyone else could do, which was, partly correct. But there was a lot of issues that I faced as I'm sure we'll get into further. But like I said, I'm just a wild man. I do everything. I do CrossFit, as you guys can see. I do CrossFit, and I tell my doctors, and they're like, "You do what?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do CrossFit. I lift weights. I bodybuild. I do a whole bunch of stuff that, with the way my spinal cord is set up, I probably shouldn't be able to do, but I do it."
That's amazing. So let's jump right into what you just said. So you talked about being a chubby kid, and so let's go back to the root of that. What were you eating as a child? Was it that your parents were eating unhealthier choices? Can you walk me through what was your day-to-day routine? What were you eating as a younger kid?
Well, growing up in Brooklyn, it was very different than it is now. Like now, we have a lot of gentrification, and there's readily available produce, stuff like that. When we were growing up, it was kind of I kind of grew up in a food desert. So it was you had McDonald's on one corner, Burger King on the other, and my mom kind of made do with what she could. I didn't grow up in the best financial situation, so burgers, pizza, 99-cent everything, so it wasn't particularly the best diet or conducive for health, I guess, but she did the best that she could.
Yeah, that's incredible, just raising kids, taking care of you guys.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, when you went to school, were you eating the school lunch program? What was kind of the meals you were getting from the school as well?
School lunches was weird because you would have healthy choices, but of course, being a chubby kid, you kind of you switch off. I would hey, I'll give you a peach if you give me your tater tot. So it wasn't necessarily the healthiest program either. I feel the kids nowadays have way better I guess choices in what to eat. In the 80s when I was coming up, it was pizza, burger, or something fried that resembled fish. So it was there wasn't really a choice of health, so.
Yeah. And did you go to public schools in Brooklyn?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went all the way. Well, I started in Catholic school, but that was a whole different it was just a different culture. They ate way better, and it cost a lot more money. And unfortunately, we weren't, like I said, we were in a tough situation growing up. So I went to public school. I mean, I got a great education. They never really taught us how to seek help. Like it was more like, you're lucky if you get out of here, So it was like, you had to pick one or the other,
Yeah.
I chose sports. That was my one saving grace. I played football for, I would say, almost my entire adolescence and all through high school. So that saved me.
Yeah. So I came from public school as well, and I also played football.
Yeah.
So I know exactly. So you don't really learn much about health. You don't learn much about food.
Nope. Lift stuff and eat stuff. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost encouraged to get bigger when you play football.
Yeah. Especially like for me, like I was a offensive lineman. So you know how that is, bigger, stronger, not so much faster, but bigger and stronger,
So let's talk about the way you were eating at home. Was it mainly that your mom was getting fast food, or was she cooking home a lot? Kind of what was the balance between home cooked versus takeout?
Well, I lived in a single parent home. I was a latchkey kid. So the one who was basically doing all the cooking usually would either be my older sister or myself, because my middle brother decided he didn't want to cook. But we used to try. I mean, we had like Kraft mac and cheese, stuff like that, fast stuff, nothing that was like, it's funny that I think about it now, and I maybe had 3 salads growing up. Like that was it. It was just, that was my choice of a vegetable. It was like, iceberg lettuce, maybe a tomato too, and a cucumber. So, I mean, like I said, being in a single family home, it's really hard to, my mother was sometimes working 50 hours, a week, so there was no way she can come home and cook. So we would pick the most horrible things to cook, like I think I made up some pretty horrid things. Like let me see. I think one of the worst things I ever made was, I used to make, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Mama Celeste pizzas, and I used to get the hero bread and just stuff it in there. I don't know. It was good to me, but bread on top of bread, was probably not the best thing to do, but that's what we had to eat. So,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what most people go through. When you go to a grocery store, I did the Produce Section Challenge, which is all about eating fruits and vegetables. Yeah. But the vast majority of the grocery store that we kind of have left out is 90% processed food. It's frozen pizzas. It's mac and cheese. It's microwavable dinners. That stuff still exists. I try to ignore it and pretend it doesn't. But the reality is that a lot of people that are single families, a lot of people that don't have a lot of time, are eating that. And that's the true reality. I wish that everyone was eating out of the produce section. I wish everyone, was able to do that. In the future, we will have that. But right now, the reality is that a lot of people just don't know what is out there and what could change their lives for the better. And it's just because we have such a lack of education about food. I wasn't educated about it. We both went to public schools and we didn't learn anything about food. So where's our public health? Right? When we're not even talking about it in our public schools. If our public education system is supposed to be, bringing up our society, it seems to be flawed in that aspect.
Yeah. I mean, they basically want to make sure that you're not a draw on society, but, you have to be well-rounded, like when I got older, I started learning a lot more about, cooking and stuff like that, because I was a professional chef. I was the district chef for a Whole Foods market in New York City. So I learned a lot in culinary school, and it was just, I find it amazing that even our medical professionals, I think our medical professionals get about 18 hours of nutrition class. That's amazing to me. I got over 280 hours of nutritional, education. And these are people who are leading us to our health, I guess, so to speak, and it's true what you said. They didn't tell us anything about like you probably shouldn't eat anything that's manufactured, like, I mean, I remember as a kid picking up, oh my gosh, those pies, the pies with like the fluorescent colors, like, super green or super lime yellow, and I think about it now. I'm like, oh gosh, like, like I could only imagine what was in that, so scary to think,
Yeah, it's scary to think that I used to love s'mores, Pop-Tarts, and Gushers.
Buddy, you speaking to the choir.
Well,
I grew up on those.
We were all there. So let's talk about that journey. So you had gained weight through your adolescent, your younger years. Yeah. And then I want to talk about kind of when you went to culinary school, because I think that's such an interesting aspect. When you started to learn about food. So when kind of was that? When did you go to college first? Did you go to culinary school right out of high school? Or kind of when did you end up going to culinary school?
Well, I went to Long Island University actually for a year or so. And then I was just like, this is just not for me. I guess coming out of high school, I was pretty big already. I was like close to, I would say almost 300, 310 around there. Of course, playing football and stuff like that. Went to Long Island University probably for, I would say, almost a year. And then just, stood home, like quit school, started working from home, doing little things and stuff. And before I knew it, I was like almost 400 pounds, and I was like, whoa, and my sister, my whole family was big, on the big side. My brother was the only thin one, and it was, I don't know how, because he ate just like us, but I guess his metabolism was so much better than ours. But my sister decided to get the gastric bypass. So I went with her, and I was just, listening, and I was like, no way, I'm definitely not going to do this. I was like, this is crazy. And it just so happens that I walked by a bookstore and I found the Atkins New Revolution book or whatever. And I was probably like 20, and I lost an amazing amount of weight so quickly. I would say about 120 pounds. So when I got into culinary school, I was already, I was thinner. I was almost 220 around there. So then when I started to learn about nutrition, that's when I threw that book out. I was like, no. And I started picking up more, more vegetables, more fresh fruit, stuff like that. And, for a long time, it went well. Like I was doing really well. And then unfortunately, I had a lot of unfortunate things happen to me in my later, like in my 24s to like 27 was pretty bad. Like, I lost my father died of cancer. I lost almost my entire family to cancer. And I truthfully believe in my heart that it was the food. I 195 bajillion% I believe that it was the food. My father died of liver cancer. My mother died 8 months later of leukemia, and my sister died a year and a half ago from leukemia as well. So it was just like, I just went into, I guess, comfort food, started eating again and eating the wrong stuff, eating things that I knew I shouldn't be eating. And before I knew it, man, I looked down and I was 5. I think my biggest weight, oh God, I hate to even talk about it, but it was 565. And I was just a mess. It did so much to I guess my drive, my drive to be better, to do better, to help people, to help myself, and I guess that's where I started to look for answers, look for ways to fix myself, and like I told you before, then I had a spinal cord injury that caused me to be in the hospital for almost 9 months. I was completely unable to move from the neck down for over 7 months. So I ballooned still, so I ended up almost being 600 pounds by the time I got out of the hospital. Because hospital food isn't the most nutritious either, they give you, not good stuff. Especially like I was trying to tell them, hey, listen, can I have more vegetables and stuff like that? They were like, yeah, sure. And they would give me like 2 servings of mashed potatoes. That's not like, I was like, can I have greens? Is that okay? But I'm kind of like giving you my timeline. It was a rough couple of years, and then it just so happens that I saw a few a few documentaries. My wife actually was the first one to suggest becoming plant-based, and I was like, no way. I could never do that. I don't know how people can do that, So I went that total opposite way and ended up doing keto for carnivore for about 6 months. Absolutely, positively the worst thing I could have done for my health. Like, without a doubt. Imagine, I was 32 years old. Went to the doctor, felt weird. I felt sick. I felt like, always felt sick to my stomach. So I got some tests ran, and they tell me, hey, so this is some of the issues, okay? They say you have a irregular heartbeat. You have a kidney that is damaged to the point where one of your kidneys is the size of a walnut. Okay. I had a kidney stone the size of a small pebble that was just destroying me from the inside. I had fatty liver. I had high blood pressure. I was a type 2 diabetic, right? And you know who told me to try keto? You never guess. A doctor. My primary care doctor told me, you need to lose weight because your spinal cord is so bad, you need to get the surgery and you can't do it while being this heavy. A primary care doctor told me to go on a all meat diet. So mind you, I'm falling apart. Yeah, I lost 40 pounds, no problem. But I felt horrible. I looked like yellow. I was really in bad shape. Like I was totally falling apart. Then I go in because I noticed the bump on the side of my neck. So I'm like, oh no. I said, okay. With my family history, my first instinct was, So I go in, they do biopsies. First ones were clean. They go in, they cut it out. When they do a deeper biopsy, I have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Okay. So I'm just like, man, your first instinct is I'm done. My life is over, and that's kind of the way they present it to you as, oncologists. They kind of, hey, listen, you got to get to chemo. They told me I have stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I needed 12 months of chemo, and, the the rate of cure was about 15%. So I sat there. It was, and what made it even worse, it was December 24th when I found out, 2 years ago. So I have to tell my wife. I tell her. And the first thing she tells me is, you're going to be vegan. We're going to go totally vegan. So I was like, I said, no, I've heard a lot of things because, cancer grows on sugar. She was like, show your face. You're going to be vegan. So I said, okay. So I started doing that. And, I refused, like I said, I refused chemo because I saw what it did to my family. So I figured I'd try a different route. And, I was about 8 months into my vegan transformation or whatever. I had lost, like about 160 pounds, and my cancer went from stage 4 to stage 2. Instead of giving me 12 months of chemo, they were just telling me 2 months of chemo. So I said, why would I do this? Why would I do chemo if I know that food is going to help? It has helped, my joints are better. My sleep is better. Oh, and let me give you the ta-da. The ta-da is, no more fatty liver, no more high blood pressure, no more type 2 diabetic. My kidney function went back to normal. Okay. And they say I have a heart of a 19-year-old. Wow. Now, of course, I can also say, yeah, bodybuilding, CrossFit, stuff like that. But food makes a difference. I cannot stress that enough, how much food makes a difference. It's like, I now, try to talk to people as much as I can to tell them, I'm not saying that not doing chemo is for everybody, because I understand there's certain people that they just need it. I've lost plenty of family too. I understand it. But if you can do something by eating differently, like just by helping yourself a little bit more, why not do it? I hear so many people make excuses. Oh, I could never become vegan. I could never do that. Why? Why not? If a carnivore, a person who's a carnivore can do it, anyone can. There's so many different avenues of getting started. It's like, Forks Over Knives where we met, you can do this, so many different raw, whatever. I actually tried raw for like a month or whatever. I lost so much weight and I was just like, I'm good, so, but it changed my life. And I'm proud to say that I'm still vegan. I'm still here. My prognosis wasn't for me to be as, I guess I like to tell people I'm living with cancer, and the major word there, the key word there is living with cancer, not dying with cancer. I see so many people that, I go in and I talk to, doctors and stuff. Like, I go to Sloan Kettering. That's one of the best hospitals in New York City for cancer. And they were like, this is amazing. Like they even started a whole program now. A lot of plant-based people are going in and teaching and they're behind it because they see that it makes a difference, and I'm not one to, push the vegan agenda or whatever, but for me, I feel it saved my life. I was on my way to die, seriously, like people think that carrying a little bit of extra weight, is okay. It's cool. It's all right. It's not. And I'm still far out from where I want to be. I'm about a good 50, I would say 80, 50 pounds away from where I want to be, cause I still look like a linebacker, but I'm just happy to help and to get the message across that you can do better. You know, I live in a food desert. I really do. Like now in the Bronx, it's pretty bad out here, you know, but you find ways and you find places, you know. Luckily we get some, you know, there's some stores here that get some good produce and stuff. So you can do it if you choose to, you know, and it's all about choice. You know, it's like, we all know the science behind it. You know, let's be honest. Like all of us, we've studied, at least us, we've studied and we understand what it is. But a lot of people just don't. You know, they're not told, they don't understand, and they're trying to do the best they can for their kids. You know, not understanding that in the long run they're harming them. You know, like I don't know. Like I know that if my mom was still here, she would probably be a vegan too, because she was well on her way when she got sick. You know, but I just feel like education is key. You know, education really is the key. And it shouldn't only be on, you know, the schools to teach that. You know, it should be, if you know, talk to people, you know, like go. People call me the mayor of the Bronx, even though I'm not originally from here. But if you're in the store and I see you like picking something that I know is a equivalent to a meat, you know, and I'll go right up to them with my chair and be like, hey, how's it going? And they're like, get away from me, crazy man, you know. But I'm just like, you know, I try to help, because I wish someone would have talked to me before, you know, told me, you know, I guess what we know now, you know, how much food does affect you, you know, on a cellular level. You know, it can rejuvenate you, or it can, unfortunately, do some really bad harm to you, you know? I'm sorry, I rambled on, but
no, please don't be sorry. You are going to help so many people, and I really, really appreciate you sharing your story. It's not easy. You went through a lot, and I know we just summed it up in, you know, a matter of minutes. What was a journey of a lifetime, literally, as you got still a lifeline. Yeah, it's still going every day. It's just getting better and better. Yeah. But I think it's so amazing that you're sharing. It's so amazing that you're the mayor of the Bronx. It's so amazing, you know, because now one, congratulations on figuring it out, and congratulations on not only figuring it out, but putting it into play. Yeah. And making it happen for yourself and for your family, for your wife, who is obviously a wonderful woman, as she pushed you in a direction towards a healthier and happier future. Yes, for you and for her. And so now you're going out there and you're helping people. And, you know, it's so great for people to hear your story, because this isn't unique to you. This is a very common story. Yeah. And I think it can be often hard to see it if it's out of sight, out of mind. You were right in saying that we do know now. We know the science. We know the Harvard, Columbia, Yale, all of these doctors, all of the smartest people in the room all know this. We all know it. Yeah. But the hard part is, how do we make sure that everyone else knows it? Because there's people that really need this, like you. You needed this, and it gave you a second chance at life. Yep. And a third chance at life. And you're such a nice guy. And now you get to go out there and you get to help other people. And that would have never happened if you hadn't learned about this, if you hadn't watched those documentaries, if your wife hadn't pushed over and over and over again for you to do this. Yeah. But it's, and you still have a lot of work to do, and that's okay. The fact is that you should celebrate what you've done up to this point, because that is amazing. That is amazing. There's so many people that don't get that chance. There's so many people that don't make it. And I'm sorry for the loss of your family. That's really, really hard. And cancer is devastating communities. I lost both my grandmas to cancer while I was extremely young. It's devastating communities. And the graph is going the wrong way. Families are being torn apart. People are losing loved ones. They're losing children and wives and husbands. And And there is stuff we can do. There's things that we can do. And it's so strange that we overlook the food. We overlook the food. It seems to be that everything else is causing these problems but the food, when in reality, it's the food that's causing all of these problems.
That's the one common denominator. It's like, okay, like I know for a fact that as far as my family, like they've done all the genetic testing and stuff like that. So it wasn't genetic. It wasn't something that it was just my family was just cursed with a gene. It was like there had to be something that was a common denominator for my family, and it was simply just the way we had to eat. It was like I tell people all the time that every time you eat, you can either help your cells grow or degrade them. And every time I tell people that, they look at me with this face like, oh, I'm not saying it to be a drag. I'm saying it because I've lived it. It's like, I remember, talking to my doctor and telling him about, my vegan, just the way I eat. I juice, I try to eat tons of greens. I probably put my local market, like they just expanded their market. I think I'm the one who actually gave them the money to, because I was buying so much, like just so many greens, that, everything I can get my hands on, everything that I knew would help, and it's just like my energy shot up, and it's just crazy. Like I feel so bad that there's so many people out there that they allow either poverty or they allow what their family has always done to show them how to eat. Like if it was like that, then I would still be eating everything fried, everything, every kind of meat, every kind of, you can't allow your heritage, your upbringing to dictate the way you eat for the rest of your life. You have to grow and learn, and it took me, a few knocks on the head, but, I learned, and it's like, I think the first time I said to myself, you know what, I'm just going to be vegan for the rest of my life, was I would say probably 3 months into the second time I became vegan, because I was vegan for a year before. And, I just sat down with myself and I was like, why would you even consider, anything else? You feel great. You're moving better than you have in years, and you're doing the right thing, and a lot of people who are vegan, yeah, it's for the animals and yeah, but what's the use of us, saving animals and if we don't have a planet to live on, if we don't have, family, I just told you about my mother, my father, and my sister, but I also lost my grandfather and my grandmother to cancer too, So I had a huge family. My family's down to 2 people, me and my brother. I had over 16 family members die of some form of cancer or some form of heart disease. Something that's, all of those things can be, with heart disease, I know you can totally go left on heart disease, because I've done it. I was on my way to a stroke. They told me, you're young, your high blood pressure is out of control, and I was just like, whoa, I don't want to die like that. I don't, so I started just juicing at first. I must have juiced for like at least a month. And I was just like, wow, like, I know it sounds weird. I know it's going to sound weird, but colors were different. You know, colors were different. Like I could see better. I would sleep 8 hours. I was one of these people that I would struggle to get 4 hours of sleep. Like seriously, like I was like, oh, I'll be up watching TV all night, you know? But it changes you. And I tell people this all the time, and they look at me and they go, are you serious? And I'm serious. Like it changes you. Like it does something to, I guess, your brain, where it rewires it so that you live the way I guess you're supposed to live. You know, you're supposed to, you know, get up and have energy, you know, not be sitting in the bed for like 20 minutes or 30 minutes before you even get out of the bed, you know? And, you know, I just feel like people just don't understand that. People don't know, you know, especially out here, like the Hispanic community is very stubborn, you know, like they're like, no, you know, you have to eat meat, you know, like you have to eat at least a piece of meat, you know? And I remember when I first went vegan, my grandmother, who, you know, unfortunately passed away, but when she was around, she was like, oh, I know you're vegan, but can you at least still eat some fish? I was like, no, grandma, that's meat. And she was like, that's fish. It's not meat, you know, like it's like, you know, it's all about explaining to them. And people see, you know, vegans or plant-based people as, you know, people who are going to wag their finger at you. You know, I've never wagged my finger at anyone. I just want them to live longer, you know, and to have a planet to live on and to have their kids live a good life, you know. That's all I want. That's all anyone who has a heart should want, you know, for your kids to be happy, you know, for your kids to have a place and not, you know, when you get older, you're supposed to have something to leave them, you know. But right now we're destroying our world at such a rate that what was it that they said, 2040, there'll be no fish in the sea? You know how horrible that is to hear? You know, like that we're going to have to tell our kids one day, oh yeah, there used to be some beautiful fish out there, but you know, how do we explain that? How do we, in good conscience, explain that to our kids? We can't. At least I wouldn't be able to. I was like, we messed up. You know, we messed up. And it's good that now people, and it's weird because people are like, oh, you know, there's a huge vegan boom. It's always been. I've known vegans that started being vegan when they're in 1940. And they're like, oh yeah, I've been vegan for like 80 years. I was like, what? You know, like, wow, I hope I can say that, you know. It's time. The time is now to start educating our kids. And the thing is that the kids are smarter now. You know, like when we were young, we didn't, whatever was in front of us, we would eat. Now these kids, they have the internet. They have all these outlets that are telling them, hey, listen, you know, meat might not be the best thing to eat. You know, dairy may not be the best choice, you know, and that's a blessing, I feel, you know, because we didn't have that when we were coming up. What we had Ronald McDonald playing on the TV, like every time we watch cartoons. What we had, Ronald McDonald, let me see, Burger King, you know, and it's not so anymore. Now it's just, unfortunately, medicines. So, you know, yeah. Pick your poison, I guess. You know, I rather eat than have to take 60, 70 pills. At one point in my life, I can say I was taking almost 12 pills a day. 12 pills a day. I'm down to 2. And they're multivitamins and stuff. They're not even real pills. They're not doctor pills. You know, that's amazing. you know?
And I think that what you just said is a reality for so many people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people realize how common this is. And some do, a lot of people do, but most of the people that do are in that same situation. And that's the trouble that we've been having and trying to get more people to be healthier and live happier and longer lives, is that it's a very out of sight, out of mind thing. And until that problem hits you, you don't fix it. So the preventative medicine, the preventative eating, the thinking about what's going to happen in the future before it happens is harder to get people to understand and see. So if someone gets diagnosed with a disease like type 2 diabetes or they're, pre-stroke or pre-heart disease or they have high blood pressure or they're told they have high cholesterol, that usually triggers someone to make a change because either their father had passed away, their mother had passed away, their sister had passed away. Someone in their family had lost their life due to one of those diseases or was taking multiple medications, and it becomes so real in that moment. But until that moment, it's very hard for people to make a shift because they're not being impacted immediately by it. Until there's a financial detriment, like you're losing money because you're spending so much money on medication, until there's a health impede where you either have an amputation or a pacemaker or you're diabetic and have to check your insulin every single day, until something makes you do something that's different than you want to do or impedes your way of life, people aren't figuring out how to make that shift and how to make that change. And that's where the education becomes so important, is how do we make people aware of the dangers that lie ahead? If there's a cliff 50 feet ahead and you're driving towards it, you're going to want to see a sign that says cliff, beware, danger, 50 feet ahead. No. But that's what we need. Yeah, exactly. And that's, I know it sounds so crazy, but that's essentially what's occurring right now is that people are driving towards a very dangerous and unhealthy life. And the question is, do you want to live until you're 50 or do you want to live until you're 90? And it's like, are you going to cut your life in half? And that's a serious question that we need to ask ourselves, because if you do, that's your choice. It's everyone's choice. Everyone has the right to make a choice. But there is impact that your choices make on your family, on your brothers, on your sisters, on your moms, on your kids, on your grandkids. They have to live after you no longer live. So I think it's important that we think about ourselves. I think it's important that we think about our families. And I think it's important that we think about what's coming ahead if we continue the habits that we have. And a lot of people, and sorry, I'm going to go on a tangent.
No, go ahead.
I absolutely loved what you said, because you're so spot on so many things. And it's amazing that coming from a culture that you came from, you're Puerto Rican, correct?
Yes.
and living in a single parent household and losing so many family members and fending for yourselves and playing public school sports and doing all these things, that you've come to this realization is tremendous. It's tremendous. And that you're in a community that is so driven by meat and processed food and fried cheese and all those sorts of things and all the Puerto Rican meals. And you are out there fighting back because you went through this. It's outstanding what you're doing. And it's what I try to get people to do every single day. So hearing your story, it's so empowering. It's so important. And there's people like you all throughout the country trying to do this. We may be a small voice, but together our small voices are becoming larger, and we're starting to make a difference in the world, and we're starting to help people that are in a dark place. And that's why I say this. There's someone in a dark place right now that's just waiting for a light to be shined on them and to give them an opportunity to live. And we have to educate. We have to talk about it. We have to have hard conversations. We have to go out of our way and not be pushy, but just through our own experiences and through our own knowledge, try to educate. And so I just want to say that really quickly. I really, really appreciate it. And I want to talk to you about a couple more quick things about the way you're eating, because I think there's a big differentiation between vegan and healthy eating, because there's lots of different diets, and people can eat vegan and not be healthy. People can eat keto and not be healthy. People can eat plant-based and not be healthy. Using a label in order to tell yourself that you're healthy or not healthy, I think is dangerous in its own right.
Very dangerous. Yeah.
So we'll talk about that in 1 second. Okay. But I want to talk about kind of your journey and so what is it in your community now? Are other people starting to do it? Are they starting to follow along? Are they starting to eat the way you're eating? Are you seeing other, is your wife fully plant-based? I kind of want to learn about the community, the impact you've had and stuff like that.
Yeah. My wife is plant-based. She just actually this month gave up all dairy. She was a vegetarian for quite a while, and she's just like done. And in the Bronx, there's a huge upswell in the Bronx. There's a lot of young plant-based and vegan, young people out here. Like they're starting to, get food trucks and build their own businesses, and that's what's exciting to me. Like as one of the older, it sucks to say that, but yeah, as one of the older people in their community, it's it's amazing to see these young people want to do so much for their community. It's like, you know, they understand that our community is, we're underserved. We are, when it comes to quality food, quality, whether you're keto or vegan or eat, the American, standard American diet, you're being underserved here. It's like you can tell the difference between quality produce and really bad produce. And you can tell the difference between good meat and really, off the truck meat. Like that's the way I feel, And these kids, man, they're getting it. They're understanding. I talked to one and it was just like a domino effect, and it's beautiful. Like it really is. It's one of the things that I could hang my hat on if, let's say, God forbid, I was to pass away. I can always say that, you know what, then I made a little difference, and that's all any of us really want to do. Like you may not think about it in your mind, but you do. You want to leave some sort of legacy that makes the world better, and if by me talking to, young people that I can tell are open to new things and them taking it and running and making it into something greater, then fine. I'm totally fine with that. I actually, I will that. I want it to happen, because it's like, especially where I live, like I live right next to one of the major hospitals in the Bronx, is called Lincoln Hospital. There's so many sick people over here, so many sick people. Like, from, like I feel like I'm in a motorized wheelchair gang half the time because we're all rolling down the street together, and I'm looking at them and they're looking at me, but they see that, I have all my gym stuff and everything on there, and they don't know that they can still do things. It's like, I have a huge problem with the way people look at the disabled, because I'm categorized as a disabled person, but I don't feel that I'm disabled. I work out 2 hours a day, every day. I I volunteer in the community. I do all the things that I want to do. I'm not hindered by my disability. Disability is in the mind. You can be an able-bodied person and still be disabled because your mind hinders you, and I feel that in this world, we need more people that are willing to put themselves out there, like you did. I seen a lot of your YouTube videos and stuff, and I enjoyed them. I enjoyed them a lot because it looked exactly like the way I was first doing stuff too. But I wasn't smart. I didn't do it on YouTube. I was doing it, with some of the younger people in the community. Like, hey, listen, you can switch that for this. You can do this for that. And it's not expensive. Like all I ever hear, I hear three things as far as for me being a vegan. I hear it's expensive. I said, no, it's not. It's probably the cheapest way of eating on earth. Two, it's how do you build muscle? How do you get protein? Oh, okay. And then three is so if you don't want to do harm, why do you eat plants? Plants, have They can feel they're alive, and I'm like, okay, all right, that's cool, like I rather not get into that part of it. I'd rather talk to them about why it is they feel that the way they're eating is it's healthy. Like I had a gentleman that me and him, we talk almost every day, and he eats the standard American diet, and he picks my brain all the time on how to get quality produce. So what I do is I jump on the train, or I get a ride, and I'll go buy whatever it is that he wants, and I'll bring it to him from Whole Foods, from any of the big box stores that you can get organic stuff from, and I'll bring it to him. I have no problem with that. It's about trying your best as much as you can. I guess that's the way I've always been. I always want to leave. I was always told by my parents that you should leave the world a little bit better than the way you found it. And I mean to do that. I really do. I mean to do that. It's like, like you said, like when we first got into contact, it was about, telling the story how I lost my weight. It's beyond that. It's, losing weight is fine. Don't get me wrong, but this helped me regain my life. It's like, imagine being in the hospital, being told you're never going to walk again, and that you should get ready to have your wife take care of you for the rest of your life. A doctor told me that. He told me, hey, listen, we're going to order you your wheelchairs and stuff because, you're never going to walk again. I looked at him and I said, you know what? I said, you must not know me. And less than 2 months later, I walked out of there. I mean, with help, but I walked out of there. See, there's different types of people in the world. There's people who accept the things that they're told. And then there's people like me and you that we'll find out. We'll figure it out. We'll study. We'll see how it goes. And then if you're right, you're right. But if more than likely you're not, Yeah. And we need more people that way. Don't take, what I'm saying as truth. Find out. Go figure it out for yourself. Go try it. See how you feel. Be your own project. Be your own project. I always tell people that be your own project. Be your own project. And they're like, like they say I have all these words that I like to, put out there. Like I say, don't use me as motivation. Motivation gets you there, but then motivation goes away. Be dedicated. Dedication is different. Dedication is something that, you're dedicated to your family, dedicated to making money. So why can't you be dedicated to eating the right way? Be dedicated to making your body and your mind better. Motivation will get you through the door, but dedication keeps you there, keeps you working. And a lot of people don't understand, that. They're like, oh, you're an inspiration. Whenever people tell me that, I say, thank you. I appreciate that. It makes my heart, bigger, but I don't want to just motivate. I want to show you what it takes to dedicate your life to being better, doing better, and that's the key to life. That's the key to everything. You can walk around and be the best, like you say, best videographer, right? But if you're not dedicated to it, then somebody else will eventually be better than you because they're dedicated to it. So I'm dedicated to making myself better, dedicated to making the world better. I know I'm not, I don't have much, but what I have is a sense of purpose. And there's people that go around their whole life and have no sense of purpose. And that's sad. That's sad to me. You know, that's one of the saddest things I've ever heard. Somebody says, "Oh, I don't know why I'm here." What? You know, you're here because your family needs you. They need you to help them if they're in trouble, or if they don't know, if they're, you know, just purpose is the lifeblood of a person. You know, you find your purpose, and I guarantee you, the world opens up. And that's what happened to me. And I found my purpose in the hospital, sitting down with tubes all over me. And I found my purpose because I was like, this isn't going to be the end of me. You know, I can't allow this, you know? And I just want people to know that if I can do it, anyone can. Anyone, honestly, you know, because I had like everybody says, I have things against me. I have strikes against me. Listen, I grew up in a 1-parent home. I ate junk for my entire life. I ate like a person who played football, and you know that calories, bigger. But what happens when you stop playing? You continue to eat that way, but you're not doing the exercises, you're not running, you're not doing any of that stuff. And that's what happened. And I want people to understand that you can still be, you know, a part of society. You know, I think that was my problem. Like when I got so big that I felt like I was not a part of society anymore. You know, I just used to stay home, and I was just so sad and felt like everyone was looking at me, you know? And I know there's plenty of, you know, people who are listening to your podcast who are probably in the midst of that. And I just want to tell you, from a person who lived that way, I guarantee you, the first step will be the hardest, but once you step through, it gets better. It gets so much better. There's so much more to life than just wallowing in your own stuff, you know? And if there's any message that your viewers or anyone could take, it's that. Please do not give up on yourself. You know, you're here for a reason. Everyone's here for a reason. You know, just keep plugging away, man. Like, just keep plugging.
Yeah. Well, I want to say, first of all, thank God that you're still here, because your purpose is amazing, and everyone's purpose is amazing. But, wow, we are blessed to have you, man. And, you know, a lot of people are probably thinking, oh, Marley must have talked to him before, because we sound so similar in the way that we speak and the way that we talk about, well, just tell people just to try it. If you don't believe me, question everything I say. That's fine. You don't hear people that are giving out misinformation telling you to question what they're saying, telling you to read into what they're saying. It's because we know this works. It's because we've seen it work thousands of times, because the science is so sound. Because if it didn't work every single time, we wouldn't go up to someone and say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm crazy, but give it a try for a couple months. Who knows? Worst comes to worst, you did 2 months of eating differently than you've eaten your entire life. If you've eaten this way for 70 years, what is 2 months? What is 2 months? Because we know that it will make such a life-changing transformation in someone's health and someone's happiness that we just want to see them get there. So if it means thinking we're crazy, thinking we're pushing produce too much, talking about fruits and vegetables like they are like our little babies, holding up bananas in this grocery store and yelling about them, if that's what it takes to get someone to see a greater and better life, then so be it. And so I appreciate you talking about that. I just want to talk about one more thing really quickly. I want to talk about the differentiation between a vegan diet and a healthy diet, because I was actually born and raised vegetarian. I have never eaten a piece of meat or a piece of fish in my entire life. And that's amazing. But that came from my parents, though. My parents raised me that way. But either way, you can still make a shift. You can still eat a very poor diet as a vegetarian. You can still eat pizza. You can still eat mozzarella sticks and French fries and donuts. And there's still plenty of options out there that are not healthy as a vegetarian, even as a child. But the options when you were vegan and when you were whole food plant-based or raw food, when I was younger, veganism was very fruits and vegetables. It was kale salads and quinoa and chickpeas and lentils. And that's changed a dramatic amount over the course of the last 5 to 10 years. And so when we say the word vegan, I just want to be careful, because one of my most important things is that I never give false information. And you're giving amazing, honest, genuine information. But I want to make sure that I'm giving people the truth, even if it goes against my own personal ideology. Gotcha. And the reason being is because I want people to have the best opportunity to get the results that they want, to live a healthier and happier life. And you talked about that. It's about a life. It's a better life, not just, it's about even just being able to live, not just about losing weight, even though losing weight is very important. And it's very essential for the ability to live a life. But still, there is so much more that goes to it. It does create this world of change. But I just love to hear people's journeys of how they gained it, how they lost it, because we can learn a lot about ourselves through that. But so we're talking about this veganism, the word vegan, and it's very important in many aspects. But we need to talk about what you actually ate in the time that you lost the weight from the hospital bed. I know you switched to a vegan diet, meaning you weren't eating any animal products, but what were you eating like day to day? Were you eating kale salads? Were you eating bean soups? Can you talk to me about what was like your daily food on that time when you started to make that switch?
Well, for a while, I actually turned carrot orange, because I used to eat so many, on a regular basis, and still now, I really don't do the fake meats. I don't do the Gardein, stuff like that. If I'm going to make a burger, I make it myself. Of course, I have a little, a step up on certain people, because I actually am a trained, chef. So I make my black bean burgers, I make my, but I was predominantly a greens guy. That's how I did it. I would drink, a smoothie, fruit smoothie in the morning, usually packed with a lot of spinach too. And that would probably hold me over to, let's say, probably lunch. And lunch, I would make my own hummus and, cut up some veg and some greens and mix it together. And there goes my salad. Usually at night, I'll have some, of course, because I'm Spanish, my rice and beans, usually brown rice with pinto beans or, kidney beans and stuff like that. And I usually do that a lot. I'm a creature of habit. I'm not one to, reinvent the wheel or break what's not broken, so I'll fix what's not broken. So, especially since I work out so much, I actually have to eat a lot more than I actually ate when I was eating, I guess, carnivore, or keto. I eat tons of greens, tons. I'm telling you, I made my corner store. They have 2 other new stores. I'm telling you, I gave it to them. I would buy, just copious amounts of greens, spinach, kale, anything new. Like if they had anything new that I'd never seen there before, I would grab it. I'm a huge mushroom person. I love mushrooms. I always tell people, if you miss meat, then get yourself mushrooms. Mushrooms will satisfy that. Trust me. And but I was never a big fan of the newfangled meats and stuff like that. And that's when I tell my age. That's when I show my age. Because it's like you see these new, the new kids on the block or whatever, and they'll pick up, I guess the Impossible Burger or a Beyond Burger, and it's too much like meat to me. It has the mouthfeel of meat, so I get a little weirded out by it. So I'm good, but yeah, that's how I did it. Basically, I just fruit smoothie in the morning, huge salad in the afternoon, and rice and beans, or tofu and beans at night. That's it. Drink
Yeah.
tea and stuff like that, because I really can't eat too much. Like I don't do a lot of like processed sugar. I don't do a lot of I don't do any sodas or anything like that. So yeah, I'm a pretty simple. It's really non eventful, but it's good to me. So at one point in my life, I was a size 60, 68 pants, right? Now, when I was young, it was nearly impossible to find clothes to fit me. Now, the new norm, you can get a 4X shirt in anywhere. Before I used to have to catalog it all the time, and I looked at my wife, and my wife looked at me, and she was like, "What?" And I was like, "You don't understand what this is, right?" And she was like, "What?" I said, "America and the world's getting fatter, and they're accepting it. They're accepting it, and it's cool. It's all right. Not saying that it's not cool to live your life, but it's not cool to it's not cool to it's not cool to be a 4X, you know? I mean, I remember being a 4X and just being so mortified at the size, just looking at it. And it wasn't because I was mortified because, I'm fat. No, it was mortified because I knew that I was that big and it barely fit me, and it scared me, and I see these young people now, like you were saying about the Impossible Burgers and stuff. Like I've seen it. I've seen people gain weight on a so-called vegan diet. I've seen them. I've talked to them. They've asked me, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm saying, "All right, show me the Impossible Burger." So they'll show me, and I'll show them the back. And I said, "Listen, my burger, okay? My burger has brown rice, spices, some pinto beans or some black beans, okay? And I mash it together and I put it in the oven, okay? Your plant-based burger has 32 different things, and half of them you can't even pronounce. So how is that healthy? It's not healthy. It's just a different change. Okay. They didn't kill anything. Thank God. They didn't kill anything to produce that, but they're still producing death. I hate to, blow people's minds, but they are. There's still things that shouldn't go into the human body that's getting in there. And there's young vegans that are growing up and they're thinking that, yeah, I'm healthier than you. No, you're not. Like when I was carnivore or whatever you want to call it, I was eating beef and stuff. Okay, there was beef and seasonings. That was all that was in there. So how can you say that you eating a Beyond Burger that has like 32 different ingredients and some that you can't even pronounce, how is that healthy? And they can't justify it. So I tell them, just stick to basic stuff, man. If you can grab it in the produce aisle, grab it. If you can steam it, you can, I personally, I try to stay away from oil too. So I'm kind of like you too. I don't like to use any oil at all. And it's just like, people always ask me, "Oh, how could you eat like that?" Easy. In a tablespoon of oil is 175 or 105 grams of calories or whatever. Imagine if you're just dumping it around. Imagine how many calories you get in there, and then you're expecting to lose weight. You're not going to lose weight. You're a healthier fat. like you're a healthier fat, And I tell people that if, being a vegan or plant-based or whatever you want to call it, doing no harm, the no harm diet, that's what we should call it. The best way to do it is if you have one or two ingredients and you know exactly where they came from and you know exactly what's in them and you just make something that's great. I can take two beans, some peppers, some mushrooms, and a whole bunch of kale and make an amazing dinner, right? Why do you need things that are extra? Like imagine you're getting the plant-based burger, you're getting coconut oil cheese, right? You're putting coconut oil or some form of oil mayonnaise on top. Right there, that one burger, you probably got 1,000 calories right there. How are you supposed to, work that off?
Yeah, it's hard. People are gaining a lot of weight, and I just want to make people aware of that because I'm seeing all the comments, and I'm also seeing all of the people joining the group and saying, "I can't believe I gained so much weight on the vegan diet." I just want to make sure that people are aware of that they're aware of what they're eating, because this is all about educating people about what you're eating and what its effect is on your body. Yeah. And it's so interesting you're talking about labels, because I was born and raised a vegetarian, so I was always reading labels.
I guess, right?
Yeah, constantly, because I had to see if it had meat or had something that was, a derivative of meat or came from an animal. So I was constantly reading labels. My whole life I was reading labels. It was like, I am a label expert. But interesting enough, I don't read labels anymore because I don't eat labels anymore. I don't eat food that has labels on it anymore. I just don't. If it has a label on it, I don't eat it. A banana doesn't have a label on it. An apple doesn't have a label on it. An orange doesn't have a label on it. Green leaf lettuce doesn't have a label on it. Yeah. Kale doesn't have a label on it. If it doesn't have a label on it, eat it. If it has a label on it, don't eat it. Yeah. Because we shouldn't have to read a book in order to eat. We shouldn't have to try to solve a math problem in order to know what to put in our body. It should just be that simple. We need to just eat what grew in the trees. If it grew, it was bright, it was colorful, and it told you to eat it, and it was sweet when you ate it, that was probably the right thing to eat.
You're good. Yeah.
And so it's interesting going from a life of reading labels my whole life to not reading labels at all anymore. Saves you a ton of time shopping, I can tell you that much. Saves me hours going to the grocery store and being in one area and buying everything in a matter of minutes and not reading any labels. Imagine if I had to look at every single banana and say like, ooh, okay, so this banana has 1/100th of banana, and then it's got 2/100ths of this and that, and then it's got monosodium glutamate, it's got sugar, it's got hydrated this and processed that. But no, you know what you're getting, you know what you're eating, and that's why you get results, because your body knows. Your body knows. If your mind can't figure out, how is your body going to figure it out? You think we've evolved as fast as our technology has? Think about how quick our technology has evolved and advanced. Now I can talk to you live streamed across the country on a video, on a phone, when 20 years ago this would have been impossible, or 100 years ago they would have thought this was, a million years out. So, or didn't even think about this. Yeah, it's magical machine. And so if our technology's evolved that fast, and our ability to 3D print food or 3D print anything or change or extract or chemically alter or change the tastes of things, if we've gotten that advanced to that, you think our body, which took so many years, thousands and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years to evolve, is all of a sudden going to catch up that quickly? It just didn't. And that's where we're at right now. We're at a point where we've evolved technologically so quickly, and we've done so much to our food supply and our food system that our body can't catch up, and we're feeling the wrath of it. I mean, you were in a hospital bed. You were in there for months upon months. The damage that can be caused to yourself, to your family members. You've seen it happen to you. So I just think people need to be aware of that. It's no longer as if it's going to happen. It's when it's going to happen if you eat junk food and processed food. I know people laugh about it. They call it a treat. They say it's fun. They say it's okay. They say in moderation. They say it's occasionally. It's not okay to die in moderation. It's not okay. You don't get another chance. You don't die once and then come back a couple times, or even though you did.
Unless it's Josh.
Even though you did. But I just think it's important that people understand that. You don't burn yourself in moderation. Yeah. You don't, a lot of these things we don't do in moderation. So why are we going to put poison in our body in moderation?
I just feel like, people have this weird thing of making excuses for doing wrong to themselves. Like, oh, I'm having a bad day. I'll have half a thing of donuts. Or, like there's so many people that their food is wrapped around their emotional state of being, and I'm not going to lie, for a long time I was the same way, but I found a way around that. And the way around that is, if you are hungry or if you are sad, then pick the best thing you can possibly put in your mouth then. Like I always tell people, eat stuff that don't have any wrappers. If you stick to that, I guarantee you'll be fine. You'll lose weight. Your inflammation will go down. Everything will be fine. And I see these kids, man, and they picking up, these vegan cookies with countless things in them. And I'm like, dude, you can like make the bomb like oatmeal cookie, with like 3 ingredients, dude. Like don't do this, And when I first started, I'm not gonna lie, I relied a lot on those type of, foods because, one, I didn't know any better, and two, I was going for more grab and go stuff that I thought would be quick. But then I sat down, I was like, dude, what's quicker than opening a banana? What is quicker than putting an apple in your mouth? Like I was like, stop. Stop. You have to take a look at yourself and go, stop. Come on. You know what's good for you. You know what's not, And it's like you said, like, see, you're one of the lucky ones. You never got that taste for meat. People that get that taste for meat, it's wrapped around feelings. Like if you, even still now, I've been a vegan almost 2 years now. And if I smell charcoal, I remember barbecue, right? Like that's the first thing that comes into my head, like barbecue, oh man. Then I go, yeah, no. But it's wrapped around feelings and emotions and memories. See, your feelings and memories are wrapped around what you used to eat, which was, luckily you were a vegetarian, but it's hard, man. Growing up as a Hispanic, it's like you get this, like, first of all, if you're Hispanic and you're a vegan, well, when I was growing up, they kind of saw you as less than, you're not, what? Ah, that's for girls, bro. Like I used to hear that all the time. That's for girls. I was like, what? Health is for girls? Like, okay, cool. So okay, but it's just like, I feel that it's time for us to get all the stigmas out, get all the finger wagging and I'm this and I'm that and I'm, like for a while there, being a vegan or being plant-based, you were considered as a toxic person, which was weird because all we want to do is not be toxic. Yeah. we don't want to live a toxic life. We don't want to bring toxins into our world. We don't want to hurt anybody. All we want to do is help,
Yeah. And in your case, you just wanted to live. Like, what? It's amazing, and I see this and like, you just wanted to live. What is wrong with that? And, I see this as well. It's and I say this a lot, and it's the majority will always belittle or impede or look down upon the minority. It doesn't matter what type of minority you're in. And if you are in a minority in your household, in terms of eating healthy, you will get questioned, and you have to be strong-willed. You have to have courage. You have to have even that much more of an aha moment. You have to even have that much more self-love, because the deflection is going to have to happen. You're going to have the courage to stand up to your brother making fun of you and saying, "Oh, a salad? How are you going to get full on that?"
Right.
And that's hard when you hear it from someone you love so much and you care about so much. But it is life or death. And that's what people need to understand, is it's not a game.
Yeah.
It's a game. We try to turn it into a game to make it so that we can continue to succeed. But it is life or death. The stakes are of the utmost. Yeah. You were in a hospital bed for so long. You know the importance of this, the significance of this. So when someone says that, or they make fun of you, or they joke about it, or they laugh about it, it's a shame. It's a shame, because everyone deserves a chance and a right to live a healthier and happier life. It doesn't matter what diet you're on. It doesn't matter what you eat. You deserve a chance and an opportunity to live a healthier and happier life. It doesn't matter what culture you come from. It doesn't matter what color your skin is. It doesn't matter what political ideology you have. You just deserve a chance to live. We all are so blessed and so lucky to have the opportunity to be right here at this moment right now. And you know that because you're lucky to be here. And I'm lucky to be here. Honestly, we're all lucky to be here. So let's make it so that luck stays true. Exactly. Let's make it so that we can continue to live and be lucky tomorrow, and lucky the next day, and lucky a year from now, and a lucky 10 years from now. And that's why I do this. That's why I spend 22 hours a day. I spend all my life dedicated to this. And I also work a full-time job as well. But I do this because I know that it gives someone an opportunity to live a life again. It gives someone an opportunity to smile again. It gives someone an opportunity to spend time with their kids again, spend time with their grandkids again. It gives someone an opportunity to be alive again. And there's no greater feeling than that. You know that. I know that. I'm going to have to, I have to go, but
okay.
I know. I'm having such a great talk with you. I have to say, this is the longest How I Lost It I've ever had. We talked about more things differently than I've ever talked about on How I Lost It. But I will say this, you are an absolutely amazing person, and I appreciate, and I'm not just saying that. I say everything that I say, I truly, genuinely mean. And that's why I say things even when it goes against popular belief. That's why I say things that are even when it goes against popular opinion, or people don't want to hear it. I say it if I believe it's true. And I truly, genuinely think that you're doing amazing things. Please continue to impact your community. My girlfriend is Dominican, and she's from the Bronx. She's actually in the Bronx right now.
Oh, nice.
So I've been up there, and so more power to you, more power to your community, more power to your people. And I really, really hope that people don't fall into that trap of saying, well, I'm from this country, but this is my cultural. If your culture is dangerous or unhealthy, change your culture. And I know people will say that's cultural appropriation. That's going against, you know what? We've had a lot of things that were culturally acceptable in the past that are absolutely terrible, and that we look back on as being so horrible and so horrific that we don't even want to speak upon it. So why are we allowing our food or our culture to be a scapegoat for us to eat bad food and allow our communities to be sick? What it's doing is it's damaging your culture. It's hurting your families. It's hurting your communities, and it's hurting your society. So we need to figure out a way to remove that sort of thinking. You can still have amazing Puerto Rican food. I have made Puerto Rican food on the challenge multiple times. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Puerto Rican food is insane, right? Adobo, you guys eat that on everything.
Oh yeah, put that on, put that stuff on everything.
Yeah, so I think it's wonderful, and you guys have amazing food, and most of your flavor comes from the spices in the first place, or from the vegetables. Most of the beans are the beans and the rice. That's the backbone of Puerto Rican food, and the coconut milk and stuff like that. So people need to understand that that the fruits and the vegetables, that's really where it comes from. You don't need to lose the flavors because you're making that switch. So I appreciate everything you've done. I appreciate everything you're doing. I'm excited to see where you are 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years from now.
Me too.
And keep eating all those greens. Yes, and thank you. Thank you for sharing the story with us. Thank you for inspiring someone. And I know I've already seen some of the comments rolling. It's kind of hard to see them when we do this, but I saw some of them that say they needed to hear this, that it has helped them a ton. So you did reach someone. You did change someone. So,
that's all I wanted.
So thank you.